Hello and welcome back to INMR, where in today's podcast I'm going to be analysing Arsenal's 2-0 win against PSG. Matchday 2 in the Champions League saw Arsenal secure their first Champions League victory of the campaign. Kai Havertz opened the scoring in the 20th minute with a brave header, and Bukayo Saka's free kick snuck past Gianluigi Donnarumma to secure 3 points. But to understand exactly how they dominated and put in an assured performance against a European giant, we've got to look at the build-up to both of those goals and, of course, the chances they had around those as well. So if we start off with this initial chance just 8 minutes in, this is the one that led to Bukayo Saka's shot where he cut in. So initially, if we just take a look, Trossard did really well in dropping in. I think there was a lot of occasions in this match where you'd see him start with the ball in his own half as he is just here, which of course led to Havertz's goal. But in this moment of the match, he did it and created another excellent chance. You've got Trossard on the ball and then Martinelli out here on the touchline holding the width. What happens from here is that Martinelli is going to make this run inside. So he'll make that run, Trossard will play the pass and hopefully catch out Hakimi, who at the minute is caught watching him on the touchline. And that is exactly what happens. You can see here now Martinelli on the ball, Hakimi's sort of caught out there. One thing I do want us to focus on as well is Ricardo Calafiori, who's just here. He's obviously come from a left back position, nobody's picking him up. He's come all the way from back here essentially, and ahead of him he's got plenty of space to go and exploit when he gets the ball in just a moment. So as you can see, the run has been made by Gabriel Martinelli from the touchline. Trossard's now potentially coming to overlap, but you've again got Calafiori just here continuing that run. And again, still nobody picking him up, so he has got plenty of space ahead of him in this area here that he can make that run into. So that's exactly what Calafiori does. He's got the ball here, and we obviously know that he goes out to play into Saka at feet. And now, at last, PSG have noticed the threat, and now Vitinha is finally coming back to pick up his man. But you can see here, jogging back, jogging. You can see a little player just here as well, starting to make the run back. But it was just all very lethargic from PSG, who really weren't putting in a lot of effort. So the pass comes out to Saka, but the main thing I want us to focus on with Saka is the distance between him and Nuno Mendes, who's supposed to be picking him up. Mendes has been dragged in. He's obviously seen the threat centrally, so he's tried to come in here. But in doing that, he's left Bukayo Saka stranded on his own in a really dangerous area. So now that Saka has received the ball on the left-hand side, now Nuno Mendes has noticed the threat and he's coming over, but still so much distance. You can see the PSG defender as well, not really aware of what's going on. He doesn't seem totally aware of the run that could potentially be made by Havertz. Of course, we know that he doesn't do that in the end because Bukayo Saka cuts in. But overall, it's just really poor from PSG because of how lazy they were getting back. You know, you can see here, Vitinha has only just caught up to Calafiori, which is absolutely ridiculous. PSG then managed to get players back into the box as Saka is getting ready to take his shot just here. But the problem I've got with this defending from Mendes is that he needs to be tighter. Once you've got Bukayo Saka, one of the best right wingers in world football, in that area, you need to get tight and prevent him from cutting in. He's sort of not even showing him one way. He's really flat, quite square. And Saka just takes that opportunity to cut inside here and then have the shot on goal, as we know. In the end, of course, it doesn't come off, but Saka wasn't far away, and you really have to blame not only the poor defending on not picking up Calafiori, who just glided through the middle so freely with nobody really pressurising him, but then Nuno Mendes initially getting dragged into where Calafiori was, and then not getting tight enough to Saka really is just amateur level defending in my opinion. The best thing about this from an Arsenal point of view is that as Saka is lining up to take this shot, just look how many bodies are in the box. From an Arsenal perspective, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already in case he opts not to shoot. Nuno Mendes still isn't tight enough. You know, he's getting ready to block it, but that's just not good enough. You can, if I just remove Saka's shot arrow, you can see now another defender coming in perhaps to support, but it's just not good enough. But even if he doesn't opt to shoot, the Arsenal players are so good at bombarding that penalty area right on time that, he could have put a cross in and Havertz could have scored. Anything could have happened there. It was a really dangerous situation. And, Saka ultimately almost scored an absolutely fantastic goal. But it didn't quite pay off. But the attack in there from Arsenal was superb. So quickly, from Trossard being in his own half, all the way to Saka now on the edge of the box, trying to curl it into the far corner. Another example just here, which was the goal. Trossard once again dropping in to be an option for Gabriel, who plays out here. Trossard then has the licence to go and just drive forward and do whatever he likes. He shrugs off the initial foul, which you can see here. The referee does actually play advantage, but he deals with that really well, just totally shrugs it off. And the best thing about this goal is the way that not only obviously the assist, which was the main part, but the movement from Kai Havertz. You can see, look how deep he started there. The distance between him and the defenders marking him in the box in the end is just really good. He's keeping far away, keeping out of their eye line, so that when he gets into the box, he just arrives and that's it. He's there, he's scored. They don't really know how he's done it. Of course, yes, that's poor from a PSG point of view, because they should be keeping an eye out, but as you can see here, they're more consumed by what's going on with Leandro Trossard, who has now come all the way from back here, totally unmarked, totally unpressured. And as well as that, you've now got 3 players all watching him, and none of them are going to pressure him. It's Vitinha who needs to get close here, because I understand that Hakimi's got a player, Marquinhos has got a position to hold. That backline does need to stay intact, which it is here, but Vitinha does so poor to not come out. And again, just taking a look at Havertz just here, still keeping a nice big distance away from the players who are going to be marking him. Again, Saka keeping the width. They got into really good areas where they couldn't be picked up, holding the width, staying back as if they weren't an issue, and then all of a sudden just appearing and bang, 1-0. So then it progresses again. You've now got Leandro Trossard cutting inside. Vitinha again just totally wrong-footed. Havertz as well on the edge there, still maintaining a healthy distance from the defensive pair. Marquinhos has been dragged a little bit over now, but the amount of time that Trossard is allowed to have there is absolutely ridiculous, and he still gets to fake across and cross before Vitinha gets close. So here Leandro Trossard has faked the initial cross. He's about to send it in for real this time into this area here with a lovely lofted cross. Kai Havertz now ready to make that movement into the box. Still Marquinhos is absolutely miles away from knowing about it, and really from this position you can see it's game over, because these two still aren't getting tight. They're both just watching him, letting him do whatever he likes, which of course was put that cross into the box for Kai Havertz to attack. And the final one you can see here before the goal is of course just a big group of players from a PSG point of view, just totally stranded, not knowing what they're doing. You've only got 2 PSG players in the box that are actually going to be able to do something. Havertz is ready to pounce, and in his current form there is just no stopping him when he gets in this area. He can do whatever he wants when a cross comes into the box at the minute. It took Havertz 11 games to score his first Arsenal goal at the Emirates last season, but this year he hasn't had that problem at all. This header was his 4th goal in as many games this season, and he's now scored at home in 6 consecutive matches, just showing how clinical he has been in front of goal. Since being moved up to a full-time striker in February, Havertz has scored 14 goals and got 7 assists. And this was a really brave header. Not a lot of people would have gone for that. You've got the keeper flying out ready to punch it, but he gets highest, commits to the ball, and ultimately puts his side 1-0 up. 15 minutes later, and Arsenal had their second. This was from a free kick, which was a really weird one, because I think from a PSG point of view where it all went wrong was just they were panicking over what was going on here with the Arsenal players. Arsenal have been incredible from set pieces. They've been a real threat, and I think PSG just didn't know what to do or expect from this unseen routine. They obviously couldn't surround the goalkeeper because they would have been offside. Normally they can do, as they please from corners because they can't be offside initially. But here this was a totally new setup that we hadn't seen. As Saka approaches to take the free kick, you can see from this initial area here They've all come in, sort of rushed towards, the middle of the goal / front post. The PSG defenders are just totally rooted. They don't know what to do. They've never seen this before. There was obviously the panic of an Arsenal set piece, which everyone's experiencing at the minute, but they just didn't follow their men. And then as the free kick is taken, you can see all of them pretty much are all still in this area when the Arsenal players have now come here. So it was really poor, regardless of the fact that, they didn't know what was going on. It is a new routine. You can't just stand there. You've got to follow your man. None of them did so. You can see here, too much space. I can't believe that Martinelli was allowed to get in front of his man here. And I do believe when we watch the replay, that's actually 2 Arsenal players against 1 PSG defender in there. So it's just absolutely ridiculous that any of this was allowed to happen whilst 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PSG players all stood on the back post, not moving from their initial position. So 2-0 up at half time, very comfortable first half for Arsenal. In the second half they dropped off a bit, but they did still have a couple of chances to catch out PSG and maybe add to their lead. This chance, 12 minutes into the second half, leads to Havertz having another header. You can see here PSG sort of in a back 5 now, with Declan Rice on the ball, and none of the PSG defenders have any intent to come out to him. He of course sees Gabriel Martinelli free, so he plays the pass out there. If we just move this along, so Martinelli on the ball now, and finally somebody beginning to engage. Havertz starting to make that movement from deep again. He'd come from about back here before getting there. And the concerning thing again is that Havertz appears totally unmarked. Can one of these 3 pick him up? Probably. But what we'll find is that none of them do, and Havertz is allowed that free header. And it's this tiny movement here as he gets into the box, because he is now actually being picked up by Vitinha, but Havertz makes a tiny movement just before the ball is crossed, and he just drops off to the penalty spot. So there you are, the cross has come in, he's dropped off there and made that movement. Vitinha is now not close enough at all. Havertz is allowed that free header on goal. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite pay off for him, but that tiny little movement that he made just as the ball was crossed meant that he could have that free header, and Vitinha was once again caught in no man's land. Again though, you can just see I can't emphasise it enough, the defending from PSG was just schoolboy stuff. Nobody really seems to be marking properly. Vitinha there of course, maybe perhaps Declan Rice is being marked properly, but Ricardo Calafiori's on the back post all alone, with plenty of space ahead of him. We've seen he's got a good strike on him, but instead of trying to keep some sort of shape and have somebody at the back post keeping an eye on him, once again you've just got all these defenders just panicking and leaving a man totally free at the back post. The final key chance in my opinion came just 15 minutes before the end, and this was just another example of Arsenal's tenaciousness in the press. Hakimi aims to play the ball in here, and it's Vitinha who comes in to make the run to meet the ball. Right next to him is Kai Havertz, who of course wants the ball, wants another goal. He gets there first. The ball comes into Vitinha, but Havertz is already there snapping at the heels of him, wins the ball, and then of course has an abundance of space in front of him to go and exploit. You can see as soon as he wins the ball, he's going to have all of this space to go and do exactly as he pleases. Havertz decides to lay it off to Gabriel Jesus, who in my opinion was very selfish. He should have laid it off to Declan Rice to have a shot, but instead he chose to take it on himself. But this has all come from PSG trying to play at the back and Arsenal just not having it. They were first to everything, and once again probably should have scored here, but I'm blaming Gabriel Jesus here because he really should have laid it back to Declan Rice, who could have had a shot himself, or even laid it off to Saka to go and have another shot at goal. PSG do win the ball back for a brief moment, but the clearance is really poor and it falls back to Bukayo Saka, who plays a lovely pass into Martinelli, who once again is allowed so much space because Marquinhos, who's supposed to be an experienced defender, is being dragged away by what's going on over here. The ball comes to Martinelli, and now all of the PSG defenders who are in this tiny little area here again realise actually they should be focusing on the man at the back post who's about to have a free shot on goal. Martinelli's effort doesn't quite come off, but that could have easily been 3-0, and I think overall it was just atrocious from PSG. Really amateur stuff. Overall, it was an assured performance from the Gunners, who head into 8th spot now, ahead of Bayern Munich. The 2 goals before the break proved enough as Arteta's side stayed resolute at the back to protect their lead, and Arsenal faced Shakhtar Donetsk next at the Emirates, whilst PSG faced PSV Eindhoven. That is where I'm going to end today's podcast, but there are plenty of others you can go and listen to. For extra content, be sure to check out my website, that's inmrfootball.co.uk. On there you can find match reports, live blogs, club updates and so much more. And if that's not enough, INMR is also on Instagram and X, so you can go and follow me on both of those platforms for more daily football content. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.